amigos! I'm the Spanish chef Omar Allibhoy, and today I have the pleasure and the honor to introduce you to my mom, Maria Jose, who inspired me over the years, particularly during my childhood, and who lit the fire for that passion about food and cooking that I've always had. And she cooked day in and day out the most beautiful dishes and desserts particularly, and today we're gonna take the opportunity that I'm here in Madrid with my parents to cook you this dessert that was especially important in my life because it was the first memory I've ever had. I remember my mom cooking it, and the first dish that I actually cooked, and it's called Flan, Crème caramel. And my mom had her own story about this dessert. Cuéntanos tu historia de este postre.
Este postre viene de mi abuelo, que era confitero, y entonces nos hacía a mi hermana y a mí chocolates, caramelos y el flan que vais a ver ahora, porque es que nos encantaba y él estaba contentísimo y todos los días nos hacía.
And the beauty about this recipe is the simplicity of its ingredients. So let me run you through which are they. You'll need eggs, bit of vanilla flavoring, condensed milk, whole milk and sugar. So to make the custard, we are going to start by whisking vigorously 3 eggs and 1 yolk inside a large bowl. We're gonna follow by again whisking in the whole tin of condensed milk and the same amount of condensed milk of whole milk, which again pour inside. This is a really simple process that could be done whether with a whisk, as I'm doing it by hand, or with a hand blender or a jack blender or an electric whisk as well, whatever you have. Add your teaspoon of vanilla flavoring and this is it. Custard is done. Simple, right? The second part to this recipe is to create the caramel. So we're going to add the sugar into a small saucepan over medium heat, and we're gonna let that sugar turn into a dark golden caramel. Swirl your pan a couple of times to make sure that it catches all of the sugar, and add a shot of water to homogenize that caramel and to make sure it has the right consistency before we pour it into our mold. Again, swirl the mold a couple of times to make sure that it goes up a centimeter up the wall of the mold. And this will act like the butter does when you spread it on a cake tin so that it doesn't stick later on. Now all we have to do is to cook it. There is a couple of ways how you can cook it, whether on the oven or in a pot like I'm going to do today. Both are in the bain-marie. So first, whether it was a roasting tray or a pot, you're gonna pour enough water to at least cover halfway the mold that you are using. Take a look, and we're gonna pour the content of our flan carefully inside. In this case, I'm gonna cover it with the lid and I'm gonna cook it into medium heat, always without simmering, for about 30 minutes or until it's ready. You know, the wave that when you touch it will tell you if it's ready or not. You'll see that it's set. And exactly the same if you do it in the oven, 160 degrees, but without a lid, and that will be perfect. I am checking the jiggle on mine just before I take it out, and it's telling me that it's completely set. So just like my mom always do, I'm gonna cool it down by the window for a couple of hours before I put it back in the fridge. This flan has been chilling in the fridge since yesterday, and now it's time to take it out of the mold. Now to unmold your crème caramel, run the point of a knife by the edges to make sure they unstick from the mold. And my recommendation is that you immerse it in a bit of hot water for about 45 seconds to make sure the thick caramel melts a little bit and it's easier to unmold it. Now, with the point of your fingers, just push the sides of your flan to make sure some of that liquid caramel comes over the walls and releases that vacuum effect that it has because of the cooking process. And now the moment of truth. This is like flipping the Spanish omelette, the tortilla. Put a plate on top and just flip it around. You can see that it's still completely stacked, but because we've pushed it by shaking it a little bit, it should fall by itself. Just lift this off. Oh, take a look. Let's see if my mom gives the stamp of approval. ¿Qué te parece el aspecto?
Es fenomenal.
There you go, she said, fantastic. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. We hope you give it a try. Family recipe, really traditional, very simple ingredients. We hope you enjoy it, and thank you everyone for watching.
Bye.
Adios. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, share it, and subscribe.